from Hollywood, I'm Martin Grove, welcoming you to our Screendollars podcast, Box Office Autopsy. In today's conversation, we'll look at the marketplace and analyze how things are going and where they're going. Joining me on the line now is Screendollars box office guru Dick Walsh. Between Dick's career in exhibition, including as film chairman of AMC Entertainment, and my own days talking about movies on CNN, Entertainment Tonight, and as a Hollywood Reporter columnist, we've logged nearly 100 years in Hollywood. That doesn't mean we're always right, but we've definitely got a few opinions to share. Well, Dick, we're here to talk about not another overperforming weekend, but a throwaway weekend. And before I throw the first question at you, I just want our listeners to know that if you sound a little bit under the weather, it's because you are, but we hope that that cold goes away very quickly. So look, Encanto and House of Gucci both held up very well in weekend two. So what does this say?
Well, it says that the public likes the pictures. It also says on a weekend, this first week of December has become kind of a no man's land, and pictures should come out of the Thanksgiving weekend and go into this weekend and hold well, and they did.
Yes, and just to fill in some of the blanks here, Disney Animation's Encanto, first place with $12.7 million. Now, that 53% drop from the Thanksgiving weekend 3 days, that is in line very nicely with past Disney Thanksgiving second and slides. Pre-pandemic, films like Ralph Breaks the Internet, that was down 54.5% in 2018 in its second weekend. Frozen 2 back in 2019, good old days, that was down 59%. So Encanto is looking good. It's now done about $58 million domestic. It's done a little more than that internationally. So globally, we're talking a little over $116 million. And again, coming out of the pandemic as we are, that is not a bad number for our times. By the way, on the awards front, last week we began to see some action. National Board of Review was first with their awards, as they generally are every year. Encanto won the Best Animated Feature, and that, of course, puts it nicely on track for Oscar's animation race. And looking at how voters kind of vote in the Oscar race, the advantage of a diversity-driven story about a young girl who lives in Colombia is very, very advantageous. The global Oscar membership right now, the voting membership, is all over the world, and they like diversity-driven stories, international stories, so we'll keep an eye on Encanto. Meanwhile, House of Gucci was number 3 again this weekend. It fell also 53%, the magic number this weekend, and it did almost $7 million, and it's looking good. What does this say, Dick, about the adult movie-going audience?
Well, we are hoping that the adults are coming back to the cinemas more so than they have been. And the upcoming Christmas product will desperately need this audience, and it's a very good sign.
Well, the film House of Gucci is another awards contender. It also got off to a pretty good start, this time with the New York Film Critics Circle last week. Lady Gaga is a Best Actress award winner from the New York Critics, and that certainly puts her into the Oscar race for contention, and most of the Hollywood handicappers that I know and follow are all talking about Lady Gaga. She didn't get there with A Star is Born a couple years ago, but people seem to think she's got a very good chance now with House of Gucci. Now, between those two films, that's about all there is to talk about with this weekend's box office. But we are not going to leave you quite yet. Fortunately, we have a few other thoughts to share as well, so please stick around. The opening next week of West Side Story, Steven Spielberg's remake of the 1957 classic Broadway musical from Disney and 20th Century Studios, the remake. This is a high-profile family appeal film. Now, the tracking doesn't look so good right now. In fact, the average first choice is 2 points below norm. Normally, I think, you'd write it off and say, well, it's not going to go anywhere. But it looks to me, and I want to ask you, Dick, what you think. It looks to me like this picture could surprise, could do much better than the tracking suggests.
Well, I'm going to take the over on this picture. I think the critics coming through for Steven Spielberg, that's a great sign. And the fact that it's such a well-known story and it's kind of uplifting at a holiday season, I think this one is going to overperform.
I think you're right, and you mentioned the critics. By the way, it is already 95% fresh on Rotten Tomatoes, which certainly is good news for Disney and 20th. This is a picture that I think will accelerate at the box office over the Christmas and New Year's holiday period. It's the right kind of holiday entertainment. The whole family can go to it and enjoy it. And look, the music is absolutely fabulous. The score by Leonard Bernstein and the late Stephen Sondheim is the kind of music that we used to have, music where you could leave the theater and actually hum the music, but today that's not the case. Now, Steven Spielberg, we have a clip here of him talking about how the divisions between the West Side Story legendary gangs, the Sharks and the Jets, are today not just territorial differences, but racial differences, which, as he puts it, are unfortunately even more relevant to our own times. Here's Steven Spielberg.
Divisions between unlike-minded people is as old as time itself. And the divisions between the Sharks and the Jets in 1957, which inspired musical, were profound, but not as divided as we find ourselves today. It turned out in the middle of the development of the script, which took 5 years, things widened, which I think in a sense, sadly, made the story of those racial divides, not just territorial divides,
kill the lights,
more relevant to today's audience than perhaps it even was in 1957.
One of your own kind, stick to your own kind.
It's such a profound story. It speaks to every generation.
I'm not Puerto Rican.
Is that okay? That I'm not?
I don't know.
It's just that love bridges every divide. It's timeless in the sense that we be reminded of that story as often as possible.
And that was Steven Spielberg talking about the Jets, the Sharks, West Side Story, and his film and how he made it, why he made it. We will keep a careful eye on it. I just should point out it got the cinematography award last week from the New York Film Critics Circle, and that could translate into broad support from other filmmaking guilds, and that in turn can add up on the Oscar front to support from multiple Academy branches, and that, given the crazy Byzantine preferential voting system that Oscar uses, that can turn out to be a winning combination. I don't think anybody can quite explain the mathematics involved in that system, but generally it's agreed it's better to be liked by a lot of Oscar voters than loved by just a passionate few. So we'll be watching that too. And looking ahead, there's lots of big stuff on the horizon. Fortunately, exhibition, I think, is going to benefit as this year winds down. The picture, Dick, I know you know what I'm talking about before I say it. The picture I have in mind is Sony Marvel's Spider-Man No Way Home. Before we talk about it, let's listen to this scene between Peter Parker, Spider-Man, he's been unmasked as Spidey, and Doctor Strange, who is going going to cast a spell, as Peter wants him to make everyone forget that big news. But then suddenly Peter Parker has a second thought. Let's listen.
So, Peter, to what do I owe the pleasure?
I'm sorry to bother you, sir.
Please, we saved half the universe together. I think we're beyond you calling me sir.
Okay, Steven.
That feels weird, but I'll allow it.
When Mysterio revealed my identity, my entire life got screwed up. I was wondering if maybe you could make it so that he never did.
Strange. Don't cast that spell. It's too dangerous. Fine. I won't.
The entire world is about to forget that Peter Parker is Spider-Man.
Wait, everyone? Can't some people still know?
That's not how the spell works.
So MJ's gonna forget about everything we've ever been through?
Stop tampering with the spell.
Oh my God, Ned, he's my best friend. Oh, my Aunt May should really know.
Stop talking!
What just happened?
And that was a clip from Spider-Man No Way Home, certainly a picture that's going to perform. Dick, this could be really the end of the year, bang, that gives the box office a real energizing jolt.
Yes, where this has been a year where no picture has grossed over $250 million. This is almost certainly on track. It broke the internet in the first hour. The tickets went on sale, and the pace that tickets are going out is pre-pandemic Avengers-size audiences are already buying tickets and securing their seats for what is going to be the biggest picture of 2021. And $400 million is not off the table for this picture.
Dick, I just want to add to what you just said about advanced ticket sales. They are booming internationally as well. Now, it opens here December 17th, but it opens internationally December 15th. Advanced ticket sales in Mexico the first day were about $7 million. In the UK, the word is that they were about 3 times the size of the sizable advance sales for No Time to Die, the Bond film. So this is a very good indication of where we're going. And again, opening for Christmas, this is perfect family entertainment and and so on in the holiday marketplace. Now, one more film to talk about before we go, and that is about a week after Spider-Man arrives, and again, right in time for Christmas movie-going, Universal and Illumination's animated comedy adventure Sing 2. It's opening December 22nd. No day and date streaming for it, or, by the way, for Spider-Man as well. No streaming there, which will definitely help. Here is a sneak peek at Sing 2, and you don't have to see it, you can just hear it to sense the fun that's going to help keep theaters busy when it opens.
I'll give you 3 weeks to get this show up and running.
I won't let you down, sir.
Better not, or I'll throw you off the roof.
There's nothing holding me back.
I have dreamt of performing in Red Shore City since I was a little kid.
There's nothing holding me back.
This is Red Shore City, not your little local theater.
He's freaking me out.
Tippy toes, tippy toes. I don't see your tippy toes. This is my daughter, Portia. She wants to meet Calloway. Big fan.
My sister is on her way to meet him right now.
Wake up! Wake up! Put a little makeup. Makeup. I just have to fade away the shake up. Why'd you leave the keys up on the table?
Your destination is on the right.
On the right. Okay. There's nothing holding me back.
And that was a clip from Sing 2. It sounds like lots of fun, and look, what are people looking for between Christmas and New Year's? Something fun to see that the whole family can enjoy together. So, Dick, we will be here singing the praises of the box office winners throughout the holiday season, right here on Box Office Autopsy. Until next week, when hopefully Dick's voice will have fully recovered, thanks very much for listening. Time now for our film flashback look at what was happening in Hollywood right around now, way back then. Let's set today's time travel dial for December 7th, 1979. Star Trek the Motion Picture, which opened December 7th, 1979, launched a franchise that's still flying high 42 years later, although it almost didn't get off the ground as a movie. Gene Roddenberry, who created the classic series NBC canceled in 1969 after 3 seasons of unimpressive ratings, tried unsuccessfully to get Paramount to turn it into a film. The studio didn't agree to make a film until 1975, when the series was doing surprisingly well in syndication with young viewers who later became known as Trekkies. But after 2 years of failed efforts to develop a screenplay with an epic feel, Paramount decided to just reboot the TV series as Star Trek Phase 2. Then Steven Spielberg's Close Encounters of the Third Kind became a mega hit, opening December 14th, 1977 to $5.4 million. Close, which cost a then-expensive $20 million to make, grossed over $116 million. It was 1977's second biggest domestic hit after George Lucas's first Star Wars, with over $307 million. Suddenly, Paramount saw there was a market for sci-fi movies beyond Star Wars, so it dropped Phase 2 and kick-started efforts to produce a major Star Trek feature on a $15 million budget, and to do so at warp speed. In March 1978, Paramount announced Robert Wise would direct a Star Trek movie based on the original series. Wise had prime directing credits, like the 1951 sci-fi classic The Day the Earth Stood Still, and West Side Story and The Sound of Music, which both won Oscars for Best Picture and Directing. Fortunately, Phase 2 was supposed to have launched with a 2-hour pilot episode called In Thy Image, which now became the starting point for the movie. Non-stop revisions followed and continued throughout production, which began August 7, 1978, and wrapped January 26, 1979, on the Paramount lot and in Yellowstone National Park. For the movie, the Starship Enterprise got a better look. New sets were built, and new uniforms were designed for the crew. Familiar faces like William Shatner, Leonard Nimoy, who almost didn't come back, DeForest Kelley, and James Doohan. After twists and turns during production that could, and later did, fill books, Star Trek opened December 7, 1979 to nearly $12 million at 857 theaters, topping Superman's 3-day record of $10.4 million in 1978. It wound up doing over $82 million, making it 1979's 4th biggest domestic hit. The franchise to date includes 13 titles and is still going strong. An as yet untitled episode will land in theaters December 22, 2023, with Chris Pine returning as Captain Kirk and Zachary Quinto as Spock. And that's it for today's podcast. Thanks for listening. We'll be back with another box office autopsy next week. In Hollywood for Screendollars, I'm Martin Grove.